Roboteers, stand by.
Everyone's got their notes. I'm like,
You've got the Tesco receipt.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Welcome to the Robot Wars Tubecast.
Tubecast.
And mate,
Not the podcast as we...
No, it's called a Tubecast.
So we are back for episode number 3 of the Robot Wars podcast.
Tubecast.
Tubecast, not podcast, whatever I say.
Tubecast.
Let me do that again. So we are back for episode number 3 of the Robot Wars podcast that I am producing, and today I have the wonderful Mark
Hello.
again, and joining us again is Adam.
I'm back.
Yeah, Adam's back. Where did you go?
you didn't invite me.
Oh.
He was like, I had a good recording with Mark the other day. I was like, oh okay.
Well, you're here now, and that's the important thing. You're here, fighting fit, and we're ready to get stuck in. So we have, me and Adam have literally just watched the second episode of Robot Wars. Mark, you watched it earlier today.
Yep.
And
So where my mind will be fresh, ready for Robot Wars.
exactly. And we are going to discuss episode number 2. What happened? The highs, the lows, the sparks, the flames,
and the robots.
And everything else in between.
and everything else in between. So
And
yeah,
the blade and
so we are going to discuss episode 2 and the fights that occurred in that, and analyse what happened in the battles, who won, who lost, who got destroyed and taken out in a bin bag. Cool.
A very industrial-sized bin.
A very industrial sized bin bag, like them really thick ones that you
Yeah.
could put a body in. What?
In this whole
so the
episode, you had Thor, Shockwave, all the other ones.
This constructor, tough as nails, who's a proper geezer.
Draven and
Foxic.
Foxic, yep.
Foxic.
Who else was there?
Chimera and Mr. Speed Squared.
Chimera and
Mr.
Mr.
Speed
Speed
Squared.
Squared, who we thought was MR Speed Squared, but it was actually Mr. Speed Squared.
Yeah, it was.
So-
I actually prefer the name MR Speed Squared.
MR
It sounds
Speed,
more
yeah,
funny.
it sounds a bit more scientific.
Doesn't it?
It's not as fun though.
No.
Yeah, but I still think the best name out of all the robots has to be Tough as Nails,
Mm.
isn't it?
Didn't exactly
Yeah.
do well though,
No,
did he?
No.
So-
Adam, spoilers.
yeah,
The end of the
well,
episode.
Well, we're releasing
I was
this
just about to say,
after the
I
episode.
know. I'm just saying, like spoilers. As
Jimmy said like we've just watched it. It's like
Yeah.
spoilers.
No,
We've just
spoilers as in like we haven't fought the first fight yet, so it's like they've all listened and then never mind.
Let's keep to your notes, okay?
Yeah, keep to your notes. You keep to your Tesco receipt.
It's not even mine. It's yours.
What's on there?
Crisps and drink.
Okay, so Thor had a massive axe hammer, CO2 powered weapon.
Very
it had
Very overpowered.
overpowered, we thought.
The first throw he did, he just launched himself in the air.
Exactly. There's a lot of serious power behind that. 1.25 tons of force behind that ram.
Just like to
Yeah.
point out, it's like the first one I've sort of seen with just one person.
Yeah,
Oh
me
yeah,
too, actually, yeah.
Thor only has one guy, one builder, and
No,
quite-
one guy, not one operator, one
yeah,
builder.
one guy as one
Yeah.
builder
Yeah,
and
Yeah, that
one
was
controller.
really impressive
and
actually. That just one guy was able to make this robot
Yeah.
so good and so powerful.
Thor has originally appeared in Robot Wars. They fought in a
Had the
couple
old
of
one.
series, and they had a proper heavy blunt axe hammer, and
Which they brought back.
really
Yeah.
weak pincers, and they did fairly.
They got
And
rid of the pincers.
they got rid of the pincers.
Yeah.
They're now scooped,
Bigger axe.
bigger axe, more powerful.
Though there was one thing I noticed: the side bits. You know,
It's a very odd shape.
yeah. Did they have the wheels underneath it? 'Cause they looked like they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, I said it was more. It's like a T shape, isn't it?
It was
From
more of
the
like a
view.
V,
Yeah.
V kind of shape. I
More
think it
of
was like to redirect or something. I don't know.
Well, it was an interesting design,
Yeah.
a unique design, let's say.
Yeah.
And yeah, Thor used to fight in Robot Wars, and they fought in the live circuit. I've seen a version of Thor, and the guy Jason Marsden, like I've seen him fight. He's part of the live team that goes around on the tour show. So yeah, he's very experienced competitor, and he knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. Then there was Shockwave.
I thought you were telling him to shush.
Yeah, sure.
Stop sneezing.
Then there was Shockwave, who was basically a box on wheels with a scoop on the front. Disconstructor, yeah,
Looked quite weak.
looked
at
quite
first
weak.
glance.
I mean, it had a big spinning disc, and spinning discs, as we've seen with Carbide, have
Was he
been
the same size as Foxic?
Slightly bigger, I think. I'm sure it was
a
slightly
little
bigger.
bit bigger.
Hmm.
Foxic was quite small, I thought. And who else did we have in this fight?
Tough as nails.
Tough as Nails, of course, who was basically a giant pair of pincers on wheels, who came from Holland.
The Netherlands.
They came all the way from Holland to fight their robot against the might, that is, the British robots, which are always the best.
Yeah.
And this first round kind of proved it. So, as Adam said, Thor was very overpowered with that
Very
axe.
fast for a big robot as well.
Yeah, they were very quick around the arena and very nimble. And as you said, that first axe blow, I don't think they actually hit anything, but
You got air.
it like tossed itself upside down. Yeah, Thor was probably the standout competitor in that first fight. Very
Yeah.
quick, very powerful, very nimble.
Didn't show
And-
many signs of weakness.
Shockwave did a few bits. He knocked out Destructor into the pit, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
Very quick.
Disconstructor, they didn't have the best of luck. They went over the floor flipper, and that kind of tossed them into the
Yeah.
air. And then Shockwave kind of put in the final blow and just rammed it down the pit. And that was the end of Disconstructor. Didn't really see much of them.
No.
Kind of
Not
just went
really.
out.
Just there for show.
Yeah, just there for
Yeah.
show, I think. And then the other three, Shockwave, Thor, and Tough as Nails, were left tussling it out all together, basically all at once. Thor managed to get a few axe blows in as Tough as Nails managed to get the grip around.
Well, he gripped him and then he just slightly missed
Yeah,
him.
Yeah.
Until he got him up on the side.
It was a very good tactic. Tough as Nails managed to keep the distance away, but also managed to pin them. But
Didn't have enough power to push
Didn't
him out of the
have
way.
the-
Basically, he had Thor push back until Thor had the upper hand, pushed him up
Yes.
against the wall, and then straight into their power unit.
exactly into the batteries. And once that had gone, then Tough as Nails was out.
Yeah,
They lost
and then
control, and that was them
it
gone.
was put into the pit.
Shockwave, they were a little bit tenacious. They kind of reminded me of a robot called Tornado, who used to be a box on wheels. Beat Razor, famously, controversially, in Series 6.
I remember that actually. I think I remember that now.
Tornado were they had this frame that they put around their robot to stop Razor getting into
Specifically Razor.
specifically
Love it.
Razor, and Razor couldn't use that 9 tons of pinch that they have on that beak. They couldn't get anywhere near the internals, but they managed to pick them up. They had like a special hook put on the top of their beak.
Yeah.
Managed to pick them up by the frame and lower them into the pit. But the frame was that big that Tornado didn't go
I
down.
think I remember that actually. Now.
And because Razor's motors burned out and Tornado couldn't move, had to go to a judge's decision. And the judges voted for Tornado. And it was highly controversial because should Tornado have had a huge frame around them, or should
Surely, if it was over the pit, he relatively should be in the
it
pit.
should be in the pit?
Yeah.
Exactly. They had lost control, but then Razor's motors burned out, and apparently Tornado was more aggressive. History was written, and that controversial decision was the end of it. Tornado won that, and it's just one of them things that we Robot Wars fans look on as a bit suspect.
Should have been looked into more.
Yeah.
But Shockwave, very good robot. Had that 360 scoop that could flip all the way around, and
that was just a bit ridiculous. It was like he didn't flip it all the way around until right at the end when he was showboating.
Yeah, when it was showboating,
Yeah.
that's right. But hey, they got through. A win is a win, and yeah, Tough as Nails and Disconstructor were both out. Despite, I thought Tough as Nails looked quite good.
I did
thought-
as well,
thought it looked
actually.
quite-
I did, but I saw his weakness. Like all he had was the pinchers, and they were quite slow.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
I
They-
saw it.
But he's still a proper geezer to me.
And then for round 2, we had the Thor of the Robots, Draven, which looked very cool. I thought that
Looked really cool, but
really good.
very precise.
Very precise, yeah.
They had a very small pinching range.
Yeah, they didn't have a huge range on their weapon, but it looked quite good. It looked all sleek and black.
It looked awesome. It was just not. They needed to make the whole head wider.
And that beak looked quite
Sharp.
quite sharp, didn't it?
They had the muzzle on the.
Yeah,
head.
it was that vicious. They had to muzzle it. And we had Mr. Speed Squared, who was a rotating blade.
That one was the one I thought would get far.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I thought
he was my go-to person because that blade was swinging so quickly.
In that first round,
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
That's why I thought the first round was that spinning so quickly. I thought it can't lose, and then suddenly later on, it's just like couldn't get to speed at all. Like the later fights, it was mad.
Foxic looked like a fox.
Yeah.
Yep.
Completely ridiculous flipper range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it went all the way back,
All the way back.
all the way to the back of the whole robot. All it needed to do was go halfway. And that's
Halfway.
it. You didn't need to go all the way back.
No,
Like,
exactly.
Didn't they say? They said something like to increase the flipper range or something like that. They thought it was a good tactic. And he's like, how? I think. I'm not sure if I heard them say, but I think it was mainly for when they got flipped on their back and they could just
Self-right, they
Yeah.
could get
ride
back on their wheels.
perfectly.
Oh, interesting design. I've never seen anything like that. No,
Neither
not
have
in
I.
like the conventional lifter sense, which would just go, like you say, up halfway, and that would be enough. But yeah, interesting design. It was modular as well,
Yeah,
which meant that
I love
that little bits could be pulled out and inspected and then
left
put
side
back in.
came off the wheels, the right side came off the back, the front.
And the weapons as well. I thought that was really good. And then we had Chimera, which was a we call them thwack bots. So 2 wheels and basically a weapon on the end.
Yeah.
Stinger was a very good thwack bot in the original series, and from my hometown in Lincoln. So very proud of Stinger.
We're not talking about that.
I'm filling in for people who don't know.
It gives you that's your home side of Robot Wars.
It's the mastermind. Not really a lot of weaponry, just 3 spikes, and probably the biggest flaw. The tires.
It was even the commentators were saying, not the commentators, the presenters were saying like you're risking it a bit, and they were like, oh yeah, we're to stay away from the spinning
from the spinner of Mr. Speed Squared. And
the spinner made a direct approach to them, completely wiped them out,
completely took off its first wheel as well.
Because within like 30 seconds,
limping around the arena, wasn't it? And that was a direct attack from Mr. Speed Squared, wasn't it? That spinner. Got speed
that's
up.
Why, that's
really
why I had
good.
such good hopes for it. It was like the first proper attack it did, just complete the speed of it.
Like, just gouged a huge tear in that tyre. And then on Speed Squared's second attack, ripped the other wheel entirely off.
Yeah.
So, like, completely
just
wipes out.
Just a blob in the middle of the arena.
Yeah, exactly. That was
great.
And then Mr. Speed Squared went in for attack on Draven as well. Got into that.
They took off his corner piece.
Yeah, so.
And whilst this was happening, Foxic hid away so he wouldn't.
Yeah,
I can't believe Foxic got through. Like, he did nothing.
They
not at all.
Didn't do anything of like proper, no attacking, no real control. They literally just shied away, hid in the corner. They probably got a few hits in, but they didn't. They didn't really do anything.
There was what happened to Draven? What happened to him? He got immobilised somehow.
Yeah, because he got a piece of his equipment broken by.
Yeah, it was the front bit, and then he got hit at the back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't he thrown into the pit? I can't remember if he was or not.
No, I think he was just made immobilised. I can't remember. You're the ones with the notes.
Yeah, we're the ones with the notes. We should know this. We're
I said I'll wing
Fox
it.
Hides. That's the last one.
Fox hides. Very detailed, Mark. Very detailed.
Hides, yes. Well, he isn't called Foxy for nothing. He's a sly fox.
But yeah, Foxic didn't really do anything. They were full of so much hope.
I like making bad jokes. Okay, that's what I do.
That's what the fox does.
Yeah.
What's
the fox say?
It's what the foxy says. Foxic, foxic, fox. Sorry.
See that end tune.
Yeah.
I know.
Foxic didn't really do much. They had so much promise. They looked good, but they
But
I'd
then
say
again, they
the-
went through, so clever.
Oh,
So
yeah.
good on them, I guess.
So the team said that they didn't have much grip on the arena floor, and that's probably something that could have been cured. So
Yeah.
What team was it? Sorry, Foxy.
Foxic,
Yeah.
Did they not have before the show actually some time to go onto the arena floor to
I don't
move it
know.
around? I'm
They
interested to
must
see
have
if they
done.
must do in some sort of way.
But they said that they didn't have any control
You know
over
what, I've-
turning
I'm-
just backwards and forwards.
You could probably edit this in at the end because I'm going to skip
Okay.
far ahead. You know how who was it? Draven.
Yeah.
Yes. They were saying like they didn't have any. They didn't realise their weapon didn't work. They went in there and it just didn't work at full stop.
Yeah.
I find that really odd that they don't have any like. Here's the arena. Go around, test the robot, just run around a bit,
Well,
or anything like that.
they must have
Well,
space.
surely they test the weapons before
Yeah,
they go
they
in.
must
Yeah,
have.
like
I mean,
in the cockpit, you would think they would do. You would think they would make sure.
So as they're
it
putting the
works.
robots on, you can be like, okay, yeah, that spins, that works, the claw works. But it's
Yeah.
like they went on. They said that from the start, the jaws just didn't close.
it's like with BattleBots. They.
Here he goes again with BattleBot.
It's the only thing that I've really got to compare Robot Wars to. With BattleBots, before they say their version of Activate, they say robots ready, and they spin up the discs, they flip, and they basically
Test
parade
it.
themselves as to test. And Robot Wars doesn't really do that.
I don't
So
know why. It makes sense to do so.
I believe they do test them before they put them into the arena, though.
Yeah,
to make sure they
They
work.
must do, considering all that money that they spent, and considering they're potentially going on national and international television. You would think they want to make their robot look as good as possible.
Sabotaged.
Maybe they are there to be sabotaged.
It's like the producers. They're like, yeah, you can't walk the robot, and we have to walk it on.
Yeah, take
Yeah.
cables out and
Just like get a puncher in their tire.
They used to do that in the very first series of Robot Wars. They used to have stock robots which were designed to fill
Fail.
numbers.
Really?
Yeah, because not everybody knew about Robot Wars, and there weren't enough robots to fill.
But then at the
6
same time, like, even
episodes
though
or
the
whatever.
robots can do very well, it kind of just showed how good they are to even get onto the show in the first place. They must have had to go through different battles and stuff. So
Yeah, they do qualifiers to make sure that they can get onto and they're capable of fighting. So
Yeah, it was like, and the restrictions as well that they have.
exactly,
Yeah.
like Mr. Speed Squared.
That's why he had to take their whole bottom off.
They had to take part of their armoured shell off because they were
Too heavy.
too overweight, weren't they? So they had a exposed area.
So as soon as they were flipped,
As soon as
they
they got
were-
flipped,
yeah,
they
they
were.
were so exposed.
But they did really well in that first fight.
In the first
they
one.
did in the first one. That's
The
because there's
first
enough time to get there. Like look at the other robot net last week, Carbide, when it couldn't get its spinner up to the right speed, it was screwed. And basically, I thought it was really interesting that if you don't give the robot the chance to get to the max speed or get to the speed to have it properly work with the weapon, it basically puts them into a disadvantage. Where by having that kind of weapon, it gives them advantage / disadvantage if they can't get to the right
Yeah,
speed.
that's what I was saying to you when we were watching it. It was Mr.
Speed Squared.
Thank you. But no, it was like because their whole disc was on bearings and wheels. It just didn't have enough friction on the wheels to spin it round.
They used
No, not
like
at all.
rubber tyres, didn't they?
Yeah, it was like tyres
Yeah.
on top and below. I think it was below as well, the blade.
So it was.
And then it had bearings all going around it to
Yeah,
keep
it
it
was
keeping the
tyre
same
driven
thing.
rather than.
But it was just so slow to just keep going.
Yeah.
He was fighting. Was it Thor? I think it was Thor. He was fighting Thor, and Thor was so quick. All Thor would do with his protective shield at the front was go into him, and he would just stop this blade completely. And it was like as soon as the blade stops working, they've gone. They're just a box on wheels.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess the thing, isn't it? Like, to kind of do that sort of weapon to experiment, it can either make you or break you, can't it?
Yeah.
I don't get why they didn't just do it like a chain system.
Or a
Right.
gear, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sprocket
Like
system.
like cogs. They should have done something like that with like
Yeah.
teeth on
There's
it.
more grip.
Yeah,
Maybe they're harder to replace.
mind you, it would have overloaded the motor
Maybe.
if it got blocked.
So then, round 3, who did we have?
You're supposed to be telling me
Yeah,
you have the
yeah,
notes.
We had Shockwave and Thor with
Oh, yeah.
Foxic and Mr. Speed Squared
So
in the head-to-head.
Speed
in the
squared.
head squared.
Oh, yeah.
So in the next round we had
Thor versus Mr. Speed Squared.
Thor versus Mr. Speed Squared in that first fight.
Yeah.
Thor essentially gave Mr. Speed Squared no chance to rev up that spinning disc that we were talking about.
You just kept on attacking him
They,
with the axe.
Thor was very, very aggressive in that fight, I thought. And, they kept on getting some good hits in with that blunt axe head.
I was actually kind of thinking at one point it was starting to become a bit of a squash match, considering just how much Thor was attacking Squared, and it wasn't able to do stuff.
Thor managed to get in a few good hits. They put in a huge gash in that thin armour of Mr. Speed Squared, and they worked themselves over to the arena floor flipper. And again, like in the earlier fight, both them robots ended up in the air and on their backs. But because
with Thor looking like it took more of the damage because it was a lot more higher when it was flipped as well.
So yeah, I think Thor went further, but Mr. Speed Squared was, because it's invertible, could run upside down. But of course, because it had that exposed underside, meant that that was available for attack. And Thor, with that hugely overpowered axe, managed to right themselves and get back stuck in there. In the end, Adam said something. It was a bit of a suicidal move when.
Oh yeah, because it was like they came towards him and then they just backed up into
the pit. Like.
So I think they were like, they'd rather give in than wreck for the rest of their robot.
But it showed that huge power of Thor's axe hammer, sort of thing, and yeah, it was knocking bits and pieces into Speed Squared, and with quite a lot of ferocity. Like the amount of damage that axe did to they bent the bearings on the frame that the blade was mounted on. That was badly damaged. Do we know why the axe head is blunt on Thor?
Yes. I know.
Go on, what? Go on then. What
because it can cause more internal damage.
Causes more internal damage.
Can I get a star now?
Yes, you do.
Have a cookie as well.
Have a high five.
Have you got a cookie?
I don't know.
Oh, you lie.
I can buy you one. I'll get you a cookie.
So yeah,
can you bring me the receipt?
Yeah, if you want.
So it has a flathead hammer axe to do more internal damage.
To be fair, you'd rather...
And also as well as reference to Thor, the Thunder God. So.
Exactly. Like,
like
I say, Thor did used to have a hammer weapon.
Plus, you'd rather damage the inside of the robot than the outside. Like,
yeah.
Would you rather hit the outside of a tank or hit it where it hurts inside?
Where all the internals and motors and
especially because those robots, even though they're very industrial built and very armoured up, as soon as you get inside, it's so fragile.
It's weak and
like one hit, isn't it? And like £3,000 like humans.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
You get him in like a body part, they're gone.
Exactly.
Especially with some weak points.
So after Fox's last fight, apparently their scoop was broken, and
their whole flipper, not their scoop. It was a full flip.
Yeah. Oh, the entire flipper unit then was broken.
They changed
so they put
it.
The smaller, little lifting.
So it wasn't a whole flipper. It was just like a little, apparently really sharp. Little flipper.
Yeah, and Shockwave had drivetrain issues as well.
Oh yeah, chain.
And Foxic had many drive issues because they had
grip issues.
Could not control their robot around the arena.
Yeah, they were saying it can go forward and backwards, but as soon as they tried to turn it, it was just wheel spinning.
Not having it, wasn't it? We were hoping that Foxic would have tried to at least try and do something different with their wheels, or so that they could get grip on the arena floor, or change their drivetrain. And the next fight that they had, it kind of worked. They were a bit more mobile, a bit more aggressive than what they were in their original fight, in that first fight that they had. And, these two robots, Shockwave and Foxic, were very similar, like little boxes. Foxic was a little bit smaller. Yeah.
That was quite cool.
Foxic was kind of not on top in that fight. I thought Shockwave was more powerful. They kept pushing them into dead metal. They had massive rams against the walls. Dead metal managed to get a few saw blade attacks in. Then the sparks flew from there. Just on their underside, I think, or one of their top or bottom panels. only made a slight graze. It showed how well armoured it was, this Foxic machine. Against this huge spinning circular saw of dead metal. Just more of a push and shove battle.
Shockwave charged into Foxic, which then knocked it into the pit for the win.
Yeah, Shockwave managed to win that quite easily.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a push and shove match, but no. It was quite actiony, I thought. And then for the next fight, Shockwave changed their weapon, the
Plastic piping thing.
plastic pipe scoop.
It was like really big, hard PVC pipe kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it
they
was-
shoved it in. They cut it in half, and yeah, they had it more of a.
I thought it was going to be used as a scoop, but it seemed more defensive in
Yeah,
the fight
way
against
more
Thor.
defensive. Well,
And it
you
basically
say
got completely destroyed by Thor's weapon, like each.
they,
and that
they,
has robots.
they
completely
wanted to
destroyed
stop
it.
Thor from hitting them, so they put it up and waited for him to mess himself up.
And was
but-
this the fight that Thor as well changed his like robot up, where he put those two clipper things at the front of his robot?
Yeah,
to
yeah, that's
stop?
right. So Thor originally had like a
It was like
plate,
an armor
didn't it?
plate,
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
he changed it for two little tiny flipper, not even
They're-
flippers,
they're
they're
like-
two little.
like skids,
Little
weren't they?
feet,
yeah,
little feet.
little feet on the end that like hugged the arena floor to stop the scoop
Yeah.
getting under. But of course, because Shockwave didn't use the scoop as a scoop, they used it to stop the.
Which
Right.
I think was their downside. Like, even though they did stop him, but I think they would have got a lot. Like they all they did was stay there and defend. They didn't
But
show
also as
aggression.
well, probably the reason they did it is because they know they can potentially lose a fight and they can win the other ones. That
I just think
were a
they
lot
could
more
have-
defensive, so that way they can.
I just think they could have, if they had the normal scoop, they could have got around Thor somehow and
Yeah.
tipped him, because it was just they were just staying there waiting for the beating from the axe.
Yeah,
It, was like,
Yeah.
it didn't really
That-
work in their favour.
Do you know, it's kind of clever though, because even though they technically lost the fight, they could then, rather than getting their robot too damaged, they can then potentially go on later on and then win the other fights. Which then it's a weird sort of defensive.
It's that
cleverness.
risk, isn't it?
Yeah,
of
it's
like,
the risk.
of like, shall we play defence or shall we play aggression? It's
and
like,
with a robot
Yeah.
like Thor who was vicious with that axe, maybe
Yeah.
that was a wise move anyway. But Thor managed to still get a few good hits in, like on the tyres, and you know, Thor being very quick managed to hold their ground against them and keep them always in check. So two very evenly matched robots again, even though they're completely different designs.
And also because the rules are different. I reckon if it was the older rules and they had to aggressive, they probably would have been more aggressive because they understood they could potentially lose a fight and still go through.
I just think they
If
should have
people
been a
were
bit more
defensive.
aggressive, because
That's what I thought as well.
The side and back of even though Thor put the little feet on the front, the side and back of him were open like by at least a centimetre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So there was a few opportunities for attack, but well, maybe they had to play it safe, and in the end, it went to a judge's decision, didn't it?
Yep.
And Thor won that one, even though they got quite a nasty swipe by Matilda and lost a panel, but that seemed a bit cosmetic. It didn't really seem to do anything more than that.
Really.
Anyway, next fight we had Mr. Speed Squared against Foxic.
This was such a boring match.
oh,
was
my-
really
even
boring.
the half wasn't it halfway through or at the end? The judges were saying it was the most
It was
boring.
Yeah.
One of the
What,
most boring fights in Robot
Foxic
Wars
was
history.
too low to do to have any spinning damage,
then
and
it's like-
the blade didn't work anyway. So it was just a box against a ramp.
Yeah,
And then he started to fight against the house robots as well, which was ridiculous. It wasn't
Yeah.
even- It's just
Not-
like.
I think they
It
should have
was
just
such
said.
a boring
I
fight, it was so
wish they said. I
terrible.
wish they told the house robots just to go at them. Just
Well, they should have.
They
If
really
they're-
should
if they're
have.
not
Would have
gonna
been
fight-
more entertaining, and even the judges and the commentators were just saying this match was rubbish. Like, if you get a chance to watch this episode, skip this fight because it was so
Well,
bad.
no, actually,
don't
I'd
skip
say
it.
I'd say watch it to start. So this is what happens when you put two out of control robots in the arena, and
No, it's when they don't think.
or
Like,
they
it's when you
think.
don't prepare your robot enough for it. It's like, yeah, you built this robot. It's like Mr. Speed.
Yeah, Mr.
Mr.
Speed.
Speed, yeah.
It was like they could have done something to him to get the lower robot, or even vice versa.
Yeah.
Something a bit better
It
than a
was
ramp.
just like, especially for something like Robot Wars, you expect them to go in there, like head on, guns blazing, fighting each other. This fight was just like, for 3 minutes, I was just like, what?
It was quite a short.
It was
edit.
such-
That
it
was
was such
3
a-
minutes. I thought
Yeah.
that
No, it
felt
was
short.
it was a short edit because not a lot happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
But
was such a
I'd-
quick and such a boring. I would have felt bad for the crowd.
Yeah. and
That was such a bad. That's like. I'm surprised no one was shouting boring.
They started going, oh, they
Boring.
were saying, I don't know what they were saying, but they were all grumbling and everything
Yeah,
at
there
by
was-
the end.
Yeah. And even Daria Breen and
And-
Angela Scandon's right. Even they were like, "Come on, guys, this is Robot Wars. You have to fight in wars."
Yeah, but
They
the
were
Exactly.
point was they couldn't. Like, both their robots
but
were
out
immune
of
to each
control
other.
and
But
Might
they
have
could have
been
like round into each other, made the fight
They
slightly
did.
more interesting.
Yeah,
though.
they
But the
got a
problem
few
was they
hits in.
didn't do it. Like, there was nothing they could do.
I think the most interesting part of that fight was when Foxic got rammed under dead metal and
Pushed him.
shoved the
Yeah.
shoved dead metal right the way across the arena. Kind of meant that the weight of dead metal gave them ties enough grip, and you could see the power of Foxic. They just couldn't get it down. They just couldn't get that robot working efficiently. So, yep, as Noel Sharkey said, that was probably the most dullest rubbish fight that he'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And I can see why. No action, just meh.
Yeah.
Just another fight, just another round.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, really, because I was expecting quite a lot, considering that Mr. Speed Squared's first match was really... It showed a lot of potential,
actually,
didn't
after
it?
that first fight, I thought this robot looks freaking badass. He looks awesome, might win it, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah. I think it's because of the damage that Thor had done and the damage that it had incurred during that first fight, it was starting to get fatigued. That weapon wasn't spinning up to speed like it was in that first match, and they just couldn't get that robot working the way they intended, and so it just
well, you expect him
didn't.
to be on Robot Wars. You expect him to have that sort of thing happen to your robot. You kind of think, oh, rubbish. Our robot's kind of been destroyed a bit. Let's kind of change it up or add different weapons to make the weapon slightly better. Kind of thing. But I guess I'm not clever enough to kind of know that. Maybe in the 2 hours that they have to fix the robot, they might have enough time to do it properly. But what do I know?
Anyway, boring match, and we will move swiftly on to
We say
round
swiftly
7.
on
Yeah,
that.
Thor versus Foxic. So Foxic.
This was quite funny.
Yeah, this
Foxic
is-
were very Team Danby. They're called, who are the operators, builders of Foxic. Very cocky, Craig, the driver, he's very big in like the roboteering community. He's a very good roboteer. Don't know if he was painted in a very good light in this, with his arrogant sort of thing. Like, I'm going to
No,
cut
I'll
off
be
that
honest.
bloody axe,
Well, he did seem
and-
to be a
I
little bit of
found
a
that
prick,
quite-
to be honest.
I found that quite funny. Like, they kept on saying, like, we're just going to keep our flap up, and I'm going to cut that axe
Yeah,
off.
cut
I'm
that-
going to
Yeah.
decapitate that axe.
I'll be honest, I can understand why he's doing it, I guess, to kind of act as a bad guy / sort of heel.
I just love the fact that, like, how can a little scoop like that cut blade?
Well,
cut-
it was all part of
Yes,
the,
it's
the
all part
drama,
of,
I
like,
suppose.
the showmanship, making people want
Yeah.
Foxic to lose because this guy's like, right, and also you can't blame him because he's like, rubbish, our robot's being really boring and no one really likes it. Let's play on that and let's make people who fight against Foxic more interested in the fact of Foxic being beaten up. Which is why it works so well in like sports and other stuff. Like when the horrible team or horrible person gets beaten, you're like, yes, they got beat.
The underdog.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But like
The
I say,
underdog.
Foxic, Team Danby, they are very highly regarded in the robot fighting community, and I don't believe that they are actually bad people. I think they
Played up for the cameras.
Yeah, played up for the cameras. I think they like everyone in fighting robotics takes their hat off to each other. It's a very hard thing to build a robot, and
I do like the fact
just
how
a bit of drama.
You were saying that like they portrayed him as quite arrogant guy, and then like at the end, where they like usually when the fight's over and everything, they have that camera inside the booth and they're like, "Oh, good match. Oh, I didn't expect you to do that," or something like that. And he was just like,
coward.
"Yeah," he was like, "You're a coward." And even when they were like, but when they brought the robots back, he was like, "You're just a coward."
Yeah, across the pit.
Yeah,
so.
he was like, it's all fun and games when you think about it. Like,
But-
if you go
Yeah.
all the way back to the first ones, it was all fun and games.
Yeah, no one was. But I suppose that sort of rivalry, like even with the original Robot Wars, like with Tornado versus Razor or Razor versus Pussycat, they all had, I suppose, a little bit of rivalry. It is a sport
It's all
after
tactic,
all.
though.
I
It's
suppose
like-
it is
but
all
it-
he wasn't a
tactics.
coward. He knew what to do. He knew not to use his axe.
Yeah, but there's a difference between having that friendly rivalry. So I understand if you want to jest, you want to do that sort of thing, but there's a complete difference to just being arrogant and up yourself and very, very smug. And actually, by doing that, maybe I was saying to you guys earlier, it might add more to the drama of the TV show. But actually, by being smug, everyone at home might be wanting, I want
Yeah.
him to lose. So when he does lose,
It's,
and
a
watch
bit more satisfying.
Yeah, a bit more
like,
satisfying.
yeah. If you can hear the outside world, it's because we've opened the window.
No, actually, this is a really nice breeze. Are you getting it?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it was really nice, actually.
But in that fight, Thor was still very aggressive, and they managed to get a few ram-ins on Foxic, pushed them into Dead Metal. Dead Metal kind of couldn't get his blade down far
That
enough
was
into.
hilarious. It was
But
like
then-
it
but
was
then-
about that far
Yeah, it was like the
away.
pincers as well wouldn't even like go into the robots. I was like, what the hell is it? Why is he not using the pincers to get into it? I guess
But
he
then
couldn't do it properly.
But then
But-
he caught him with his flap up, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Foxic then got caught on the flame pit, I believe, and you know the teammates were saying not on the flames, get it off the flames. The
But
lipo batteries will burn and
immobilised.
explode.
Yeah.
It was immobilised, and then Dead Metal came in, pincers, saw, and cut straight
And
through that blade.
You were saying that heat.
The heat that the sword.
yeah.
Did you see it glow? I've never seen that ever before.
And
That was a
then
brilliant shot.
Matilda, being as badass as she is, knocked Foxic into the pit.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
that was
came
funny.
in and
Yeah.
she
That was
ended
awesome.
Fox. It's like,
I
this
like the
is, you
fact how
deserve this.
Jonathan Pierce was like, "I love you, Matilda, but you're damn scary."
Yeah.
So that's so good. That's why I was saying to you last week, just how by having him back, he adds, which is why I was saying to you before, in any sport in general, if you have a really good commentator, they can add so much more to the fight and the match or whatever it is as well. I mean, did you enjoy?
the fight or the match or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, did you enjoy the commentator? Did
Yeah,
you
yeah,
I
enjoy
like
I
Jonathan
like
Pierce.
them. Yeah, he's always been.
He's
Yeah,
the
he
original
has, yeah.
commentator of Robot Wars.
He's got the right tone of voice.
He
for
does.
the
He
part.
Yes.
like I said to Mark and Kat last week. He gets so excited about
Yeah.
such little things, and I think he's perfect for that
Oh yeah, me
that
too.
role. And yeah,
It's like, I think he's really good, Jonathan.
I just love it when he
Pierce.
goes into detail. It's like, oh, would you look at that blade spinning round?
Fight 8, we had Shockwave with a newly fixed scoop, the pipe scoop that they had in the Thor match. That was all. Mr. Speed Squared, they could not get any speed back into their weapon. They were sitting ducks really. They got
Yep.
shoved into the house robots, into Sir Kill-A-Lot, and
Into
I
the
find-
side wall.
I
they
don't
got
know if you
flipped as
guys
well
like
sometimes.
agree with me with this, but I find Sakura very under damaging.
well,
It's like he's got, like I remember like he was a big robot. He's got a cool mask. He's absolutely huge. Got massive tracks.
and they've
and
even
then, like, as
upgraded
soon-
him, and
As
it's-
soon
Yeah.
as I saw that, like as soon as a robot goes into his area, if he can't pinch them, he just shoves them back out.
the
He's got no.
the robot the house robot interruption has been kind of taken has been heavily cut down from what they used to. So
Yeah.
in original Robot Wars they used to
Mind you, it would be a bit unfair.
well exactly the house robots used to attack whenever a robot went into their corner patrol zone,
Yeah.
and you know they could be in any corner and any house robot could come
Yeah,
over
because they've
and
cut them down as well. I remember in the original series, they used to have at one point all 4 of them at the same time
Oh, yeah.
at some point.
but in
No,
like,
no,
earlier
no,
seasons-
you only get 2 of them.
No, they used to have 2 as well. But what they used to do was, I found I've saw now that in the new series, they have 2 corners of just nothing.
yeah
And so if,
Yeah.
if they stay in there too long, then yeah, a robot will come over. But in the old ones, if there was only 2 house robots, as soon as they get into the other area, one of the other house robots would just pelt it down
Exactly,
there and go
and-
straight
Yeah.
for
straight
them.
for them, but they don't really do that now.
They're very immobile. They're very restricted. And
Yeah, I
like-
mean, I
Maybe
would
they
like
might
to
be
see a bit more house robot
it's
destruction.
good because it's more of a the competitors fight more
each
And-
other, don't they?
Yeah,
Rather than
yeah, it's
Yeah.
more competitive and also it's more fair. I guess if one robot is being basically
It's like if you show it's
like,
like
screwed over kind of thing
it's a
by
bit-
the house
it's-
robots, it's kind of hard for them to
it's a bit
win.
of a different scenario. If you chuck a robot in a corner with Sir Killer, with a pincher, then if you shove it right into Death Metal's claws
in
and
the circular
saw. Like, because that saw can just straight through the middle, and you like it can just rupture anything in the middle.
That's the
But it's
greatness of dead metal.
Circular lot can't really.
Well,
Unless
I think Circular Lot's got a lot more potential. I just don't think we've seen
Yeah.
a lot of him. He's only been used in like later fights though. He hasn't been used in like earlier ones. He isn't. So when they have their 4
quarterfinals and
The-
stuff
the-
like that. 4v4.
yeah, maybe they'll have like more
Yeah.
dead metal Circular Lot in the arena. You know, the most damaging of the, or maybe Matilda and Circular
What I
Lot.
want
Or-
them
Or
to do
Sergeant
is bring-
Bash.
Or
Yes,
Sergeant
what I
Bash.
want
Sergeant
as well.
Bash was the best with flame flowing.
But yeah, the house robot interruption. It kind of used to end the fight. They used to put the dead competitors on the floor flipper, drop zone
Yeah.
into the pit.
Yeah.
They
They got
used to
rid of the
toy
drop
with
zone,
them.
didn't they?
Yeah, they got rid of that
It's
drop
a
zone.
shame. They
'Cause
could've-
that was good. I used to
Yeah.
love watching washing
Like,
machines
it was
fall
like,
on.
you never knew what it was until they were there. Like
Yeah.
it was like, oh, they're on the drop zone. The camera pans up. It's a washing machine.
They dropped all sorts of stuff.
What
on
have we
that.
found in the back of our warehouse now?
I guess that's what happens in the recession, isn't it? They can't use the washing machines
No,
anymore.
you can't use it.
You can't use washing
Got
machines.
restricted facilities now that we're doing everything on a bit of a budget.
It's like, no, they don't want it dropped on robots. They want it recycled.
But then, Speed Squared, they couldn't get their disc spun up. They kept on getting rammed against the wall by Shockwave, and Shockwave nearly fell down the pit themselves.
Yeah,
They-
whilst charging into.
I was charging into
Yeah.
them, but
That
they
would have been hilarious.
managed to get the grip back and kind of
Yeah, because this was the fight where each team had to win to then end
To-
up going
to
through
progress to
against
the next
Thor.
round.
Yeah.
Against Thor. But final nail in the coffin. They were shoved right down in that pit.
Yeah.
They were out. They were gone. They were
Yeah.
toast.
They were gone indeed.
So Shockwave, still quite powerful, even though they had drivetrain issues in early rounds, but seemed to have been beefed up just enough to keep the edge there.
Mm.
And then we went into the final of this heat, which was Thor versus Shockwave.
Which was an absolute upset of the century.
Do you think?
I thought.
Compared to Razor going out last week?
Why?
Because Thor looked so badass, and I thought Thor was going to win, and then suddenly when Shockwave flips and runs straight into Thor, I was just like, Thor's going to win. I wasn't paying attention. I was like, watching the fight. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, but
It was insane just how aggressive and just how right in Thor's face Shockwave was. It was so surprising. But you know what I mean? It was insane just how in their last fight you would think by them fighting again, oh, Thor's was in the bag. He completely messed up, completely
this
destroyed.
was almost like
Shockwave.
a grudge match between
Yeah.
the two robots. They fought previously when Shockwave had that pipe scoop thing, and they changed to their original flat scoop, their original flat
which
flipper
I
blade.
preferred. I didn't like the plastic.
And
I didn't at
I
all.
think that worked a lot better.
Oh yeah, no, I
and-
remember now.
You know, Thor was a bit lacking on power in this. Like, they weren't as quick, they weren't as agile.
But also as well,
It was that first shunt, wasn't it, up against the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
and
first
also as well, they
powerful
weren't even
shunt.
given the time at all. It was just so in their face, aggressive, just
They were
on
gone
them,
in a minute,
on them.
wasn't
It was gone in 30 seconds a
Brian,
minute.
what's his face?
Darrow O'Brien.
Darrell O'Brien. Yeah, that's what he was saying. Like they were gone in,
Yeah,
under a minute.
they were.
Yeah.
It was a quick fight, and Shockwave. You know, I think that original flat scoop blade thing that they had on their flipping arm, that worked a lot better than whatever defensive weapon
I
that
think-
they had.
And also as well, it was quite impressive the fact that as well that Shockwave was able to end the streak of Thor.
Exactly.
Like it went every single fight before that fight.
That's what I said
about-
to you. I was like, I don't want Thor to win because he just won all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like Mark said, this was probably a surprise win. It was a shock.
Yeah, it was an absolute shock. I was watching it, I was thinking, 3 minutes left of the show, I was watching it on via Sky Plus and stuff, and it was just like watching it, I was just like, Thor can't lose, Thor's going to win this easily. Not paying attention, looked up at the screen, I was just like,
Sorry,
Jesus.
You stopped paying attention to Robot Wars.
Yeah. What are you doing,
I
Mark?
was
I was
making
about to
notes
say,
and
what the
stuff.
fuck? You don't deserve to wear that hat.
I was making notes and stuff saying Thor's going to win, obviously. I didn't write it down, but I was just like, Bloody hell. Shockwave 1. I actually stood up
was.
and clapped.
It was.
Not clap physic, but you know, physically.
In your head.
In my head. I stood up and clapped. So Shockwave was like,
It was
Shockwave?
a very dramatic sort of end to the.
It wasn't it? Yeah, it was
because
crazy.
no, I wasn't expecting Shockwave to win, especially after their first fight with
I
Thor.
was expecting it to go to a judge's
a
decision.
judge's decision.
I mean,
at
how
least,
did
but-
you feel? Were you shocked or were you...
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I
you
just-
wanted Shockwave
I
to
wanted
win.
him
You
to
wanted
win because
Thor's
I was
reign
just fed
to
up
end.
of Thor just constantly winning. It was like he took no damage. Well, he took barely
He
any
took
damage.
bits of damage.
There was no weakness he has. He didn't get flipped
Nope,
properly. He got
nope.
stuck on the flipper, but that was about
Yep.
it.
And
I mean, as you got some of the robots second place, do you reckon he might potentially go through to the final, considering how before his second fight against Shockwave, just how dominant he was and how he literally destroyed all the other robots?
so yeah, Thor could be a very good candidate for the wild card that they pick for the grand final at the end of the series.
How many did they pick? Only one?
So you've got the 5 winners of each heat every episode, and then you've got a wild card who reaches that knockout stage with the mini league. I think they pick one robot that does really well out of that, so it could be Thor. You know, Thor showed a lot of great potential in there.
Yeah.
Very aggressive, got in load of attacks, and
This is where you find out Thor is Shunt's son.
oh
Dun,
my
dun,
dun, dun.
dun.
They're kind of very similar,
Yeah.
aren't they? They have like
it just,
similar-
it just occurred to
and,
me. Like,
So episode 2, kind of a little bit more than episode 1. I thought this was we'll shove that little
We'll shunt.
Foxic.
we'll shunt that Foxic. Come on,
Foxic
use the terms.
under the rug. Foxic and that Foxic and Mr. Speed Squared fight.
What would you give it out of 10 the episode then, Jimmy?
Oh god, you can't do this to Jimmy.
We did this last week, so we're going to give it.
Oh
out
yeah,
of five.
well I didn't know, did I?
Well,
I
now
wasn't
you
there.
did. So we're going to rate it out of 5. Out of 5, we did last week. I
5?
think. Yeah. So,
5? Okay, cool.
So, I'd say it was really. You know, the first fight with Mr. Speed Squared got that huge damage on Chimera, ripped off both them wheels. Then they kind of fizzled out towards the end. Thor again, huge power, massively aggressive, and Shockwave when Shockwave won.
Shockwin.
Yeah, Shockwave when Shockwave won.
Win.
And yeah, we've had that really dull, boring fight. So
Yeah.
although I enjoyed it, I don't think I enjoyed it as much. So I'm probably gonna say probably a 4.
Really? I would say 3.
I would
If
say
we could do
3.
if we could do points, I'd do like 3.5.
3.5. No, I'll agree with you there. 3.5.
I'll
It's 'cause
probably say
it was that dull
Right.
match, and it was the fact that at the start it was really good. What's his face? The one with the 2 wheels that got demolished.
Chimera.
I'm gonna write it down next time. Chimera, like that. Chimera getting absolutely destroyed. That brought you into it. It was like loads
Yeah,
of
that
destruction,
was,
all that, and then it just got duller and duller, and then it picked up again. But it was missing just all
There was,
Yeah.
there was
big
just
thing.
a missing. Just
I'll give it 3 out of 5, only because, same with Adam, the first fight I thought was really exciting, but overall I kind of felt there were a few more fights that I didn't enjoy much as I did enjoy, but with the fights being as good as they were, when it was good, it was really, really good. So the thing was very like mixed. It was kind of like there's really good high points and a few low points. I kind of felt the low points kind of hindered the high points to me, to be honest.
no
Yeah,
action
yeah.
in there. There
Not
was
at
no
all.
aggression.
And some of the other
nothing.
fights as well in those head-to-heads was saying earlier with like the other fight we talk about how because of being so defensive, it was just like this is robot which is supposed to be attacking each
Yeah,
other.
it
What's the point?
must have been a very hard match to judge if nothing really happened. to
Yeah.
that. So
I mean, how
you
can
know.
you decide who's going to win if
If
no
nothing
one
happens?
Nothing really happens.
So it was all right. I enjoyed it.
I
It was
definitely
good.
preferred the first week more to the second
The first
week.
fight but
Either
I
way-
was excited for that anyway. So
Either way, it's Robot Wars. We all loved it.
we all love Robot
We
Wars.
did.
Yeah. So
Right, on that point.
update on the robot I am building.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So my controller receiver came in the post.
It's fancy.
It's fancy. I don't know if it
Very,
works.
very
It's not the
fancy.
best, but it's
It hurts
really
your
good.
thumbs.
Like,
But it's pretty
It
cool.
doesn't hurt your thumbs.
No,
It makes
it's
it
so
makes-
you got grip on
You're
it.
not concentrating on your thumbs. You're concentrating on what you're doing.
So yeah, the controller came, and I've got some got the little brackets. They came in the post today. and I'm just trying to brainstorm a few ideas of how I'm going to make like a chassis plan.
Remember, as they always say on Robot Wars, when it comes to designing robot, design it around the weapon.
Design it around the weapon. So I've made the design. I've designed a few plans. The one that's made out of a takeaway container is now called Chop Suey because it's got a spinning blade, or it's going to be designed to have a spinning blade made out of a gherkin jar lid.
Well, we should put on the robot. You should also point out Chop Suey, the famous System Down syndrome. You should put "Angels deserve to die."
Yeah, I could do. Call it Chop Suey because like the blade will spin and it will chop. And it's made out of a takeaway container.
What would be cool is to have a robot with like piston-driven spikes. Like,
Well, I could try and find a way
Jimmy,
to
if you
incorporate
can, you
that.
should get where it does the flipping thing. Get actual chopsticks. We have like proper like metal chopsticks that
there's
you can
like
use.
walls on chopsticks.
Yeah, like which.
My second design is going to be made out of a dustpan. Dustpan.
What?
No, what you get with like, you buy a cheap dustpan and brush from like Tesco for about £1. Turn it upside down. Got a simple wedge. Just put the floor plan chassis on that.
Yeah.
This is like completely simple, just to make a chassis.
Thing, like
I could
Chaos
try
2
and
kind of
do,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
What we've got to
Like,
do is
simple,
cut
two
out
wheels.
a bit out of it. Put like 2 hinges on it, and then you're done. It's not
Exactly,
even 2
and you
hinges,
need to
one
find a
hinge.
way of making the
Yeah.
flipper move, and
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Just a piston like that. It'll push it like that.
Or
Like
something
put it
similar.
put it on a hydraulic on a lever system, and you just do that.
Could do. You can't see that on the podcast.
You can- I'm poking my
Adam's poking
slanted
his hand
diagonal
to-
hand. As I push my finger, the flap goes up.
Yeah, that's right. See? Yeah, I've probably bought the most expensive thing out of this robot building project that I've got, which is a controller.
Considering you're now going to Power Man for dustpan and brushes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mind you, you got the most important thing though.
Got the most important thing, the controller and the receiver. So watch this space and you'll be watching a dustpan fight a takeaway container with a jam jar lid very, very soon.
Only on Jimmy Cotton's Tubecast.
Dun, 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 dun.
So for week 3, our competitors will be Big Nipper, Danton Kia, Glitter Bomb, King B Remix, Orte, Overdoser, Supernova, and TR2. Looking forward to seeing some of them fight, definitely. Okay, we'll go now. See you later, guys. Bye!
Cease.
Cease.
I comment, that was pretty good.
Yeah, well.